Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Game Alone's podcast. And today we've got a very special treat for you because Sean Land is in the studio. Sean, how you doing, buddy?
All good, Sam. Can't wait to crack on with this one.
I know. Me and Sean have been trying to get this in the diary for like months. So I'm really happy that we had a bit of time in between Christmas and New Year to get this done because for those of you that don't know, Sean is I think you're quite unique in the kind of the property space because relatively new to sort of the online space. So in terms of you were doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but you've been in property for a long time. And you've been really, really bloody successful in it. And that was the reason I really wanted you to come on today, because I think you've got a lot that you can share and inspire people that are, going into 2023 thinking, this is my year. What are the kind of things I can do? So I suppose to kick things off, why don't you introduce yourself, Sean, and just give us a little bit of a backstory to kick us off with how you got into property and what kind of stuff you do, really.
Thanks, Sam. Thank you for that introduction. I'm Sean Land, and I am a property expert, somebody who invests in property and in all different aspects. I've invested in property. I'm very generational, which means I don't flip property. I don't believe in it. And we can go in a little bit later why I don't do that sort of stuff. I come from a background where I've learned off my granddad and also my father. I come from a small corner shop and with 5 of my siblings living in a normal 3-bedroom house. So I've got my ear very close to the ground. I really do know what it feels like to have nothing and how hard it is to struggle as well, which is why I think a lot of my audience relate with me, because they feel that I'm not somebody who's come from money and thinks everything is easy. Now, I've worked in a lot of family businesses purely because I was around 3-4 sisters growing up and with my mum, and it was like a very female dominant sort of background home. I always wanted to be the man of the house, and my dad was always at the shop, and it was only 2 streets away. So it was either sitting at home watching soaps with my sisters, or it was going to the shop where dad was the man, dad was in charge of the shop. You could learn a little something, hear a little conversation, and if you were really good at the end of it, you might get a small panda pop, So I honestly, I really enjoyed being next to my father. He was my hero. He was the strong man in my life. And I just wanted to be like him and then eventually make him proud, because he was like, look, you're my only boy. You need to take over to look after everybody. That's how we sort of grew up. So I always felt that I had to make the most out of myself to look after everybody. It was down to us. So just with that sort of mindset, that little boy always talks to me in my head, even today as a 36-year-old man. I've accomplished a lot in property. I've got a very large portfolio. It's a very diverse portfolio. It consists of single dwelling houses where I have small families living. I deal with certain agents who look after HMOs. And back in 2015, I had over 50 rooms in East London. So this what's coming about now with the serviced accommodation and almost being a mini hotel with your houses, I was doing that back in 2015 without even realizing it. Yeah. Because in Stratford, we had University of East London, and a lot of the teachers would do their PGCEs, and a lot of them, like 5 of them, would want to stay together because they've all come from Ireland, for example, and I'd have a proper house share for them. I also realized during by accident that in Easter times and also in summer times, the market went dead. Everybody went back home. During summer times, some people finished their sort of university degrees or semester, and they didn't want to rent for that period. So what do we do? So I realized there was a few other apps like Airbnb, not so much booking.com back then. We had spare room, and you could potentially get a higher rate in them periods because people would just want to come and visit. And people say, look, instead of like rent for £500 works about £20 a day. All of a sudden, you're getting somebody paying £150 just for a night. You're thinking, wait, I just need to rent this for 3 nights and my whole month's covered. And that's how we saw it. We never saw it to get rich. We're just like, how are we going to get through this difficult period? Because them electric and gas bills don't stop. The council bill doesn't stop. How do we just cover ourselves? And then I used to find local people who used to come to my dad's shop to come and do the cleaning, and I used to pay them like £7 an hour, and it was just about hustling. It wasn't about getting rich. But now it's a very big thing, that the in thing of you rent somebody else's house to carry on renting it on. But in a nutshell, I bought my first house at the age of 21. And it was purely with my earned income. I really knew from a very young age, my journey started 10 years before 21, which was a massive head start. I learned the art of making money and what do you do with money and what is a rainy day, because a lot of people don't know what a rainy day is, and they run into problems and it's like a car crash and it's like, what do we do now? Whereas I learned at a very younger age, hey, what if you have a problem or issue? How do you solve it? Because that is essentially what gives you confidence and for you to override any sort of situation. And so even with one of my first paychecks in a cash and carry, I was 14, used to work on Saturday, Sunday, 5 o'clock in the morning, concrete floors, there was no heating. The manager, Sanjay Wadwani, was a very strict, shrewd businessman. He didn't care you're 14 or 15. He knew how he started and how tough his dad was, so he was going to be that same guy. And in a way, I love these guys now because they made me who I am today. And it was very laborious. So the way I worked was not what works today. So what you want to take away is the mindset and the work ethic. You don't want to try to copy and paste exactly what I've done, because it was a very layman's way to do it. I picked up heavy 20 kilo or back-breaking 45 kilo rice, scanned it in a till in the middle and put it on the other trolley. And then you just count how many items, print the bill out, and it goes, here you go, there's your bill, just to get £3 an hour. And I'm sure we can be a lot smarter than that nowadays. So that's how my journey started. And I used to get this brown paper packet. I don't know if you remember this, Sam. When you get that brown paper packet, it's got a little pay slip in there. You'll have a couple of notes, and then it will just be the change. And the change you'll chuck out, put it in your pocket, and you're like, right, that's my little drink money or whatever it is. But then you're thinking, what am I going to do with these notes? So that's how the journey sort of started. And I was taught from a very young age by my father, don't be selfish with your money. So he goes, what are you going to do with your first paycheck? And I was like, right, is the PlayStation coming out? Because I've never had one of them. Are we getting some, Nike trainers? Let's go shopping, because I've been sharing your clothes and half your clothes are moody. Like, they're not real. And this is the time. And he goes, no, I reckon you should get your mum something, your 3 sisters, your auntie and your grandma. You need to get them something. And we came from, my granddad used to live opposite, about 5 doors down. My other uncle used to live about 10 doors down. We all lived on the same street. So our community was like this. There was no way you could run or hide. You couldn't bring girls back because somebody will spot you, and it's like they'll be on you. You couldn't do anything like smoke or drink. It was like CCTV all over the place. So anyway, everyone was really quite close, and they were like, look, do something for the family before. And I was like, why? And I suppose what he meant in a way is energy and karma and how the world works. When you give to the world will give you back. And maybe that's what it could have been. It could have all started just from there as being a 14-year-old. I went to Green Street. It's a very famous street in East London, very Asian orientated. I took my mum with me, and I think I bought 6-7 suits. And then I went around my grandma's and I called everybody around. I was like, this is for you, this is for you, this is for you. And all my paycheck went just like that. And everyone was really shocked, why is Sean doing this? Thank you so much. This is a really nice gesture. And inside I was like, my first paycheck, and that's what I've done. It's gone already. It's not even on me. But it was teaching me the art of giving. Share when you've got something. And the biggest thing is you've got 7 people here right now giving you their blessings. They're happy for you. Now they're happy to see you succeed.
And they're supporters. They're supporters now.
Yes.
And actually, do you know what? It's funny because a lot of people talk about their community, their network, all that kind of stuff, and the old school mentality of and I won't mention the particular network because it's quite famous. I'm not a big fan of it, but lots of people go to these chapters of this particular type of network, and it's all very much like you go there and everyone's just after, they just need that. I want referrals from you. I want referrals from you. I want referrals from you. Whereas I've learned exactly that lesson that you learned so early, which is give, don't expect anything in return, but something will probably end up coming back. And I think that a lot of people believe that you should give, if you give 100%, you should get 100% back. Now, if you give 100%, you might get 30, 40% back. So actually, if you give 200%, that means that you might get, 50 or 60% back. Do you know what I mean? And so the more you give, the more you end up receiving. I think it's a bit, don't be giving it just for that. And I think that was the lesson that obviously you got taught very early doors, is keep giving, and you'll do it. What I love actually about what you were saying about your story before, which again, I think there's loads of people that will be listening to this who are younger. When I say younger property investors, I don't mean in terms of age, I mean in terms of how long they've been in the game, that are so overwhelmed by all the information, all the strategies, all the make sure you got all your ducks in a row and do all this kind of stuff. And they end up just procrastinating and never actually investing. And what I love is, it sounds as though what you did was you invested and then figured out the problems as you were going along. You shoe dogged it, basically. If anyone that has read that book by Phil Knight, How Nike Was Made, that was literally it. It was just like, solve a problem, move on to the next problem, solve that problem, move on to the next problem. Yeah. And it sounds like that kind of it was your mentality of, let's just get on with it. Let's actually be a property investor. Let's just not learn to be one. Let's be one.
I think it's very important not to get anxious. You know, it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing or how far up I'm on my journey or you're on your journey. Is how can I get the task done in front of me? What is it? It's a house, right? And it obtains rent, and it requires a mortgage to be paid. That's just 3 simple things right there. Okay, it needs bills to be paid, but the tenant will pay that bill. Right. What's going to stop my rent from coming in? A bad tenant. So what do I need to do? Is get a very good agent to check this person out. Is he working? Is she working? Are they both working? Do they have... Let me figure out their problems, because if I know that I can sort their problems out, then my problems are no problem. So if he's earning 20K and she's earning 20K, 40K, they can well afford this 1,500, because if they're earning £3,000, I know 500 might be their bills and 500 for food costs. And if they've got a very lavish or overspending lifestyle, they'll spend another £500, but they can meet their rent and all their commitments. If they're only obtaining £2,000 between them and 1,500 is my rent, of course, at some point, it just takes one bad rainy day, like we call it, for them to hit a problem, and their problem will become my problem. So you want to vet your tenants, first of all. You want to say, can they pay their mortgages? Because let me look at their lifestyle. If they can, that's a good tenant. Ask for references. Ask, why does the bank always want to know your credit history? Because they judge you by what you've done in the past, not and that what determines what you're potentially like to do in the future, because habits don't really change. And they can change if you want them to, but you know, the majority, that's how it exactly works. So these are just a few of the basic things that I just look at. Now, if I've got a good tenant, you just stick it on rent. If it's a family, and especially if they've got a small kid, they don't really want to move, because the kid's potentially going to go to a local school, and that's it. They're going to be there for at least 7 years. Not saying you don't meet the bad apple, you do. But what do? You have a contingency plan. And what I did was I always was employed. I was employed for a very long time until I got my portfolio to a level where I said, look, I can manage without this full-time job, but I could still have a part-time job, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's nothing wrong with that. But Monday to Thursday, I get this passive income that even if there's 1 or 2 problem, I'm okay. And if the 3rd problem arose, I still got the Friday, Saturday, Sunday job. Like literally, you can earn, very good money just working very part-time. So it's all about creating that barrier and that safety net. And if you can do that, then that gives you confidence, because you're never worried about issues or problems, because you've got it covered. And it's the same thing when you want to go and buy a property. People say, what's the first thing do I do when I want to go and buy a property? You need bloody money in the bank. Because what confidence are you talking? There's so many people going, I want to talk to you about property. What 2-bedroom houses are going? What's 3-bedroom houses going for? What do you think of this? What do you ask 101 questions, and they've got that in the bank account? Why talk about it? You need money, because then you can have substance to your conversation. Then you can discuss the property. Then you can negotiate, because you've got a pound note in your account. You go, look, there's my bank account. You can see how much I've got. I want to do a deal. If you want that house sold, I know you're getting commission. How can I motivate you to get me this house? And how can I get on that ladder and get a little discount? How can we all eat from this piece of the pie? And that's what business is. So you've got to work hard. There's no easy way. There's no easy money. And, these quick, rich schemes are out there, and there's influencers say you can do it with nothing. Well, I want to see how far they actually get. Because if you want to last long in this game, you've got to make sure you've got a plan, you've got a strategy, you're prepared to work hard, because as a landlord, you never stop working. Never. even if nothing's gone wrong, you still have to open your bank account at the first of the month and see if your rent's come in. And if it's even late, you might need to send a text. That is still work. That's still something in your head. And that lives in your head 12 times a year just on one property. Imagine you got 20 properties. That's about 30, 50 transactions in your head that you have to go and check. It's still work. Even when you're on holiday, you can't fully switch off because you've got to check your account at the first. So you've got to be ready for that sort of lifestyle. It's never going to be 9 to 5, weekends off. I've got my 30 holidays a year, and that's my lifestyle. Being self-employed requires an element of a lifestyle change for you as well. And yes, the good is very good. You get passive income. You don't have to get up when everybody else gets up. You can take a weekday off if you want to, but at the same time, it does come with all these other things. And if you're conditioned to something else and you're not prepared to change, then I really don't think it's for you, unless you're going to be a very small landlord and prepared to just buy 1 or 2 tickets and be owned by a estate agent who's saying, here's another bill for you. We had to change the tap, £200, please. Where you could do the job yourself for 50 quid if you've got a local plumber. If you want to be hands off, it's not going to be as lucrative. Yeah.
So I suppose that's a trade-off though, isn't it? That you can be more hands-on and you'll earn more from it, and you could go the other way and earn less but have more time. And I think that all just, for me, just comes down, because I mean, I'm the same in my business. One of the reasons why me and my business partner, when I started Grand Union Finance, one of the reasons why me and my business partner actually went our separate ways is because we had opposing thoughts about this exact thing, about exchanging time for money. What he wanted to do was he wanted to exchange time for money. And that's actually really cool for him. He just wanted to sit at his desk, do mortgage applications, speak to clients, get paid on those deals at the end of the month, and then start again. And he was quite happy to do that. Whereas what I wanted to do was to build a business that didn't need me, because I'm a great believer that for a business to thrive and survive and do really, really well, the person at the top should be replaced as quickly as possible. Because not necessarily because you want to do that, just so that you can. And I think it just creates a more stable business. So we were working in opposing directions at the beginning, and it's ultimately why we decided it was better off if I just kept the business and he went off and did his own thing. And I bought him out. But it's the same with property, it's the same with business, same with anything. You can outsource everything that you do and pay for that, and lose the control. I'm not a big fan of saying lose the control, because I actually think that what you can gain in time is worth the potential loss of control. Actually, if you put it in the hands of someone, they might actually be better than you are at doing these things.
Yeah, I agree with you. You've got to be smart about the situation. Like there's a few tickets, like my last 2 houses that I bought in August, it went straight to the council through an agent, and it's just guaranteed rent. That's it, done. Like I know exactly what I'm getting. It's about £200 less than the market rent, but it's guaranteed. Doesn't require no license because it's gone straight back to the council, and that's it. It's done. It's put to bed. I don't need to worry about it no more. So you've got to make certain smart decisions. There's a HMO that I could earn potentially £500 more a month, but I've given it to a partner who gives me, £500 less, but it's still way more than the market rent. So I'm still getting that little buffer, but he takes on all the headache to fight for that extra £500-600 that he wants. So it does come to a point. I think at the start, when you're starting, it's very important to try and be hands-on as possible, because you're trying to get money together to grow. And once you've got money, or if you've got a very good job on the side that you're earned income, then you can allow, because you're trading time for money. Now, if you can work in your job and you're getting 70 to 100,000, then surely that's better than leaving that to try to be free for a £50 tap. So it's all a trade-off. It all matters what position you're in, and there's no right or wrong answer, but you just got to be smart around your situation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you said earlier on, you were talking about a kind of I guess you were giving a little bit of advice to those that are maybe getting stuck in their head a little bit about investing in property, as to the keeping it simple, keeping it, the basics of what you're looking at when you're taking on a new property. I wouldn't imagine you were as savvy when you first started out. Do you remember your first property purchase and how that came about?
Yeah, of course I do. The first one's always your baby. I've still got it. Today it's now a care home, getting double the market rent. And it's I did become also a builder at the age of 26, so I swapped my shirt and tie for labouring clothes, like mixing sand, cement, making mortar for the bricky and digging foundation, ripping my hands up, which was a massive change. But again, it shows you don't have any ego or don't have any pride, because it will get you places if you can put that aside. My first house was actually, I was working in banking in West End. I was a premier manager. I was 21 and I was working in Piccadilly Circus, and I got on really well with Anish, the mortgage advisor. I knew I wanted to get into property, but I thought it would come later down the line. I wasn't sure when the right time was. You always think you're too young. You're conditioned a little bit. And then Anish goes, "Hey, look, I'm selling my property." I was like, "Where is it?" And he goes, "Dagenham." And I was like, "Oh, it's not too far from me." And he goes, "Yeah, I want 160 for it. Are you interested?" I said, "Yeah, it looks interesting. Let's have a little look." So when I looked at it, it was just a normal 2-bedroom house. I didn't know a lot. Asked my dad, and he goes, "Well, if you think it's a good deal, go for it." So I said no. I said it's too much of a big task. I said no. And at this time, we're talking 2009, 2010, it was just around when the credit crunch had happened. There was only one person walking in that door if you were lucky for a viewing. It's not like 10 to 1 right now. So I said no. And then September came. He asked me again. I said no. October came. I said, "No, I'm all right." And he basically, what was the motivator? He found another property which was about 40, 50,000 under market value, and he really wanted that. And his loan was 100 grand on this property, and all he needed was 40,000. And I found out these details. Instead of 160, I said, "I'll give you 140 for it." Just throwing numbers out there. And to my surprise, he goes, "Yeah, deal done. I just need this done. I just want it." And I was like, "Okay, so how the hell do we start this?" And luckily, I had pre-approved limits because I always got a consistent income in my bank account, because there was a direct debit standing order going into my savings. Barclays had already pre-approved me for a mortgage to say, if you wanted to borrow money for a mortgage, we can give you this. I sat down, they gave me an AIP, agreement in principle already. They had all that information, and I thought, right, we're doing it. So I was like, what do I sort of need? So I had this vision of moving in myself. I was like, I could probably move into this place, a 2-bedroom house. I think I needed about 14,000, 10% of 140, 14,000, and there was a few costs associated on top. Luckily, I had a Barclay card there, and I used to use it for, I don't know if you remember when the Barclay cards first came out, they had the first Oyster tap-ins on there. So you could use it to do your traveling. And I knew my traveling, because I was always budgeting, I knew my traveling cost £138 a month. So I used to use that to tap, but then I used to make sure the direct debit always cleared it off, because I knew there was no interest to be paid if you clear it off, but it shows that you're building your credit. So that had a £5,000-6,000 limit on it. And I went, worst comes to worst, all the sort of from October, November time, it weren't going to complete until February sort of time, after searches were done. Christmas came into it. You have a Christmas break. January came, and I actually completed on the 18th of February, which was my dad's birthday. And I took him round to see that property. So it was amazing that I completed on it. And all I needed to do was go in and do a lick of paint. So I just asked my father, because a lot of tradesmen used to come to our corner shop, and it was a guy, Lindsay, and I was like, "Dad, have you got anyone to paint?" And he goes, "Yeah, call this guy up." And so I called him, met him up, took him to Wickes, bought some gloss, bought some vinyl silk paint and all that, let him get on with it. And all I had to do was check on him, agreed a price with him, very cheap back then. He painted it up, and in the meantime, I just started my viewings. I just put a little ad up on Gumtree, just normal, asked around, put a little sign in my dad's shop, and somebody came into the shop and go, "Where's that property?" And I was like, "Well, it's in Dagenham, not around Stratford." They go, "Oh, I don't mind moving there." Done the viewing, and that tenant stayed there for 7 years.
Wow.
The rent I agreed was £1,000. My mortgage was £500. All of a sudden, I'm making £500 a month, £6,000 for the year, and come on, 6,000 times by 7 years, your quid's in. You're earning the best part of 35, 40 grand on that. And all I had to do was buy a £500 kitchen that her husband was a carpenter, and they go, "Please, Mr. Singh, we want to put a new kitchen, but my husband will fit the kitchen." I was like, "Okay, choose what kitchen you want. Let's get a flat pack." Chose a £500 kitchen from Wickes, double unit, single unit, oven housing, worktop. And they were like, "Don't worry about the tiles. We want to choose that on, and we'll do that." Next time I saw it, it was like a brand new kitchen. And then I felt they were being a bit cheeky. Maybe I don't think that now, because they go, oh, the carpet's giving us, it's not giving us good with things with allergy. And I said, unfortunately, I can't afford that now. But the next time I went 3 months later, they go, we hope you don't mind, but we changed the floor to laminating floor. And I was like, oh, wicked. Like, but I just thought at the time I was being a bit strict, like, no, I'm not going to pay for anything else. It's good the way it is. And that's a preference now, what you're talking about. But I found some very good tenants. And so that's how that first deal came about, 140,000. And my dad came and saw it as a property investor himself. Now, at the time, he wasn't that rich. He started investing in 1995, but property prices didn't like take a rocket from there. He bought something, he put it on rent, and it was just paying off the loans itself. It's only now that he can see a massive jump in these house prices and saying, now we can refinance these. But I used to go with him as a kid. I used to put paper bags or plastic bags from the shop on my hand to go and unblock drains, because he was like, well, we've got a problem now. I was like, well, call somebody. He goes, yeah, that's us. So we'd go there, put the plastic bag over my hand, and go under. He goes, look, it's just a U-bend. And it's just something stuck in the U-bend. Your hands are small enough, Sean, you just got to unblock it. I said, but it smells. And he goes, well, that's what soap is. And remember one thing, son, wherever you think you're going, we are going to become dirt one day. So don't be afraid of dirt. So I was like, all right, I'm doing it. So it was never anything to be sort of afraid of. He came to see this first property of mine, and he said, look how long the garden is. You can do a 6x6 extension on it. And me being a Mr. Know-it-all, I'm a banker, I'm on 60 grand, 70 grand, I've got a property, I've got my McDonald's job on Saturday, Sunday, I know it. Well, I was like, yeah, whatever you're talking about. But when I did become a builder, that was one of the first projects I did to make it a 6x6 meter extension. It almost doubled the house. It was 10 square meter rooms. Today, one of them's a dining room, one's an office with computer and CCTV in it. The front rooms now become, another bedroom. The middle, I put in another bathroom with a kitchen, and then upstairs we converted the 2 bedrooms into 3 bedrooms, because one of the biggest rooms was a bathroom. But I realized one of the biggest rooms I could just chop it in half, and it was still 11 square meters. And I made another bathroom, and the bathroom itself, I made it into another bedroom. So it's actually quite a large house now that's on a guaranteed sort of lease agreement that I now leased it off for 5 years for a very good rent, where the rents go for about 1,300 on that road, 1,400. I think I've secured it for about 3 grand. And there's a lot of tickets in my portfolio that I've learned how to do this specific, working with partners who help supported living and help children in need. So it goes, your houses are being used for very good cause in the community. I do it up to a very high spec, flat screen TVs, make it look really nice, and hand it over to these care homes that are regulated by Ofsted, which are 100 times tougher than the councils. So I know they've been regimented very properly, and at the same time it also hedges you as a landlord, because your money is sort of guaranteed by what the councils give these bodies, as long as they're doing a good job. So you don't really have a problem. So recession or no recession, we are still going to go through this. And if anything, this space is growing right now, because mental health is growing, and COVID caused a lot of issues, and the council are looking more and more for these places. So it's very important to diversify in your portfolio. So have some single dwelling houses for families, some rooms for working professionals and students, some serviced accommodations and sort of care homes. So if you don't always put all your eggs in one basket, that if one thing crashes, the whole thing crashes. You've got to know that just a couple of these secured incomes can look after all of my loans if shit hit the fan.
Yeah. Do you know what I like about what you just said is, and because I think there's a lot of people that try and run before they can walk, that I speak to. And look, I've seen loads of people that have actually started out with what I would call sort of higher level advanced strategies, and they've been really successful. But for most people, you've got to start with your bog standard houses, just renting houses to families, because as you've alluded to, already quite a lot in this episode, there is a lot that goes into it on a day-to-day basis, checking up on things, even down to just making sure the rent's come in and making sure your mortgage payment's going out and all that kind of stuff, you don't really think about. So what it sounds like you've done in terms of how you've been able to scale your portfolio, which is obviously another thing that when I speak to my clients, maybe for the first time, I'm always asking them, what's the end goal? What are you looking for? What does your portfolio look like when it's done? And they all have massive ambition. I want 50 properties, 100 properties, 200 properties. I want, a 10 million pound portfolio, all this kind of stuff. The hardest part is starting, and then it's turning that into the scalability of it. So it sounds like what you've been able to do is, those first few properties that you purchased on a relatively sort of standard basis, how you maybe scaled was converting those further down the line into more passive income type properties with a greater return that allowed you to then scale. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I mean, I got up to 5-6 properties. I got up to basically 4 properties, and I left my earned income on the banking. So I used to get 3 to 5 grand on a good month after tax from the bank, which I would put into the savings account, and I could save 30 to 50,000 pounds from. I then started to get passive income for about 4,000 pounds a month. I left my main job, and I still got around about, 1,000 pounds from a part-time job and just doing the properties. I still lived a very simple lifestyle. I didn't have a lavish car, wasn't overspending on, silly material items. I was very shrewd with my money. I always lived like that same guy as that 18-year-old who was a student, even when I had £1 million worth of assets. And I think that's very important. Don't let money get to your head. It's not forever lasting. It's not going to be there forever unless you put that into an asset that, you hold that sort of money so it's stuck somewhere, and you allow that money to grow and also earn you an income. Now, the income's going to be a lot less than what you've invested, but eventually it is going to grow more and more. If I look at what I've invested at the start, now I'll probably turn over £25,000 a month at least. Yes, it's through different companies, and there's only a certain amount you can pay yourself, but you can structure it very, cleverly and properly. But that's where the end goal is. If you just repeat, compound all of them sort of strategies. Once I left the bank, I became a builder, and this is where I felt that I wasn't getting paid. It felt like I was just paying other people. So my builder, I'd pay him £100 a day, and in the meantime, before I left the bank, I got 2 planning of permissions agreed, and you got 3-year window to complete these planning permissions. One of them was for the very first house, 6x6 meter extension. But to my amazement, once I finished and I spent 38,000 on that house, I got the house revalued, and it was valued near enough 320,000, and I bought it for 140. So straight away, I literally took a very large chunk out and bought.
And you've been being paid for that in the meantime as well. You've been getting, cash flow through the rent.
Of course, it pays the mortgage, and I kept the money. So the thing that was very funny for me, because today I see money and it starts growing. I probably get like £1,000 just in interest. Now the interest rates have gone up, and I'm like, wow, where's this free money coming from? But I know the real rate of inflation is something different, but it's still nice to see that you're getting a return just by having money sitting in an account. But back then I never saw money. I'm like, I've got that house. Why ain't my bank account full? Because it's not like that. You got to pay mortgages, you got to pay insurances, you got to pay any surprises that come, any void periods. You need to start paying the council tax. There's always an expense when you're in this field. And then if it's not that, you're trying to get collateral together to reinvest into more property. So I suppose another one I bought in Stratford, it was a 2-bedroom, but it was a 1.5 bedroom. I'm literally this room you could barely fit a single bed in it, and the other one was a double room. And people go, "You're stupid buying this one." I was like, "I'm gonna buy it," and it nearly got blown at the last minute, where the guy selling it said, "I want 2.5 grand extra." And yourself, once you get a mortgage agreed and the survey's done, you can't then go to the bank and say, "I need 2.5 grand more." So I had to basically max out another credit card to give him 2.5 grand, and we had to put it under inventory to say he's left, things behind that we're going to pay for, and that's how we had to complete it. guess what? That house that cost me 197, because I went through the shits of getting it, today's worth 800,000. I've already refinanced 150 out of that property and bought two more, 75 on another property. But that one, I done a double story side. I saw a little bit of land on the side. It was a corner plot property. I put a double story side extension. I turned it into a 6-bedroom house. I put on the double story side extension, I put a kitchen there and a diner there. The existing room that you walk straight into and the kitchen in the back, I separated them with an alley in the middle, changed the stairs around, and I made that into a bedroom, that into a bedroom. You go upstairs, I redesigned it, have an upstairs bathroom and 4 more bedrooms. And because I was the builder, I plumbed in a sink. Because I was in the sort of serviced accommodation, I thought, what's going to make it easier for people? What's going to make my room better than someone else's? A sink. Because people want to brush their teeth, they really just need to go to the bathroom to have a quick shower or go to the bathroom. But imagine if you could just get up straight away, put that toothbrush in your mouth, and you're half done, and you can get your clothes ready while you're waiting for the bathroom. That will give me a competitive edge. And just by doing that, I charge £20 extra a room, because people looked at it and they go, well, why would you charge £20 extra for this room? And then they realize, oh, it's got a sink in it, because I put that as one of the star pictures, includes a sink and splashback, and just make that little quirky. So you got to remember, okay, then if I got 5 or 6 rooms, that's an extra 100, 120. Like, I don't work it on per day, I work it per month, because I ain't got time like to micromanage this. So how do I just get more money? How do I get more rent? Well, I get 100, 120. Well, that pays for the cleaner and a little bit of bills. It means the rent is going towards more to the savings, and that was enough for me. What did it cost me? £100 for a sink. Like a little cabinet with a sink, and all I got to do is shove one of these plastic pipes underneath the floorboards, get it out to the water pipe, and the waste pipe would just come out of the building and join into one of the other plastic pipes. This building works is not even hard. You just think, how can I make this more sellable? Why again? You're giving. How can I give something to people what they want to then get what I need? In return. It's always that energy, and you're always serving people. And I suppose I learned that in the shop with Dad. What does Jenny want? What does Tracy want? She likes to smoke the Silk Cut hundreds, and otherwise she's going to another store. But when she buys that, she buys the Luro and this and this. Give her what she wants. Our customers are our kings. Treat them like a king, and they'll come back to you time and time again. You just remember somebody's name. Oh, that shop it's my shop. There's Morrison's down the road. There's Safeways. I don't know if you remember down the road.
I remember Safeways.
Yeah. And I'm like, Dad, why do people come to us when Safeways? Me and Mum go to Safeways because that's how we bought smart. They go, no, son. People believe in their local shop. They believe in look after Jeff down the road. That's my dad's name, Jeff. And he's like, we get a little chat with Jeff. We get that personal touch, and he's always asking us, what do you want? And he's my guy, because he's got that especially from the cash and carry for me. Make people feel special, and that's what's going to return. Business is an art. It's not just, I've got this and I'm going to sell it. People like authenticity. They want to know who you are, what do you stand for, and what they're getting off you and what they're going to get off you tomorrow. It's not just about the sale. It's about the aftercare that matters most. Once I've rented that house for you, how am I going to be treated? And you've got to treat your tenants with a lot of care, courtesy, because they're the one who's paying your mortgage and making your business run. Let's not get that twisted. Of course, we invest a lot of money, but one hand always washes the other, and it's really that simple.
Yeah, there's 2 things I'd love to pick up on what you were just talking about there. The first is the last bit, which is the value add scenario. And I've been talking so much about this recently. I think I'm boring my followers on Instagram about it. But people pay more for an experience. Like, how many? I don't know whether you're the same as me. I know some local restaurants to me where, I mean, in North London, where I'm from originally, there's an amazing Mediterranean restaurant. And I mean, the food is always pretty excellent, to be quite honest with you. But it's quite pricey. But the service there is amazing. The owner of the restaurant comes over and hugs you and is like, oh, so good to see you. The blooming head chef comes out and hugs me as well. So I'm like, if I'm in North London, if I'm at where I grew up, and I want to go out for something to eat, I'm going there, because because the experience that you get is so worth the money that you're spending. Yeah, there's another restaurant across the road that the food's probably slightly less, but it costs a lot less. But because the experience is nowhere near as good, it's a no-brainer. I'm not going there. I'm going to this other restaurant. And I think people can learn from that when it comes to business and even being a landlord. The more you give unexpectedly, the better experience you create for your client, customer, tenant, and the more likely they are to not only keep coming back time and time again, but tell everyone how brilliant you are, which obviously just expands your ability to service more people. And this is something at Grand Union I say to the team all the time. Like, just imagine you're serving, like, imagine a customer is a member of your family. Imagine a client is a member of your family, but your favorite member of your family. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do over and above the norm to make sure that they have the best experience possible? And sometimes I don't like actually doing work for family members or friends because I'm so scared of letting them down.
Yeah.
And I'm so scared of, like, oh, well, I can't charge you, I can't do this, can't do the other. But that's what I kind of say to my clients. Imagine, like, your best mate. Imagine we're doing a transaction for your best mate. You're going to give them the best service possible. You're going to make them your number one priority. And that's what, as a business owner, I think you should be looking at. And as a landlord for tenants, what you should be looking at when it comes to the people that you are servicing. That's how you should be kind of treating them. And if you do that, I think you'll do exceptionally well. And clearly, it's something that you're working on. And the other thing that I wanted to pick up on was something you might have not even realized you said this, which is, you said the money at the end goes into the savings. When you were talking about the cash flow and money coming in, everything goes out, you're paying this, that, and the other, the rest of it goes into savings. It didn't go into your back pocket. And I think this is something that if a newer investor is listening to this, or someone that aspires to get into property is listening to this, that might be one of the biggest keys to take from this podcast. Is when you are building a property portfolio, the more you can push back the time that you have to pay yourself, the more successful you're going to be, the quicker you're going to be able to expand your portfolio. Because I've seen it time and time again with my clients that are building large portfolios, exactly how you've been doing it, Sean, is exponential growth. Because if you buy one property and it makes a net profit of £300 a month, then it's going to take you a long time with that £300 a month to save up another 25% deposit to buy another property. But when you've got 20 properties that are making £300 a month each, well, you probably got enough every couple of months to then buy another property. Which, guess what that does? It then increases the income that the portfolio makes, which means you're then even closer to a point where you can be buying a property every month. And it snowballs. But unfortunately, I think you mentioned this at the beginning, you get too many people, too many influencers, and all this kind of stuff nowadays. They talk about, you can be financially free in this amount of time, and property is a long game. Property is a long game, and I love the fact that you hustle and grind in the background. You worked at McDonald's, you got the building job, you kept your job for as long as you possibly could, because you knew that was your looking after yourself money, and the property was the looking after the property money.
And you got to hold yourself accountable. You got to say, look, if I'm only earning £800, I've got to make that £800 last to the end of the month. Yeah, and that's all I have. You don't start delving into your business account and going, right, I'm going to treat myself. I deserve this now. No, you got to control your emotions. That's one of the biggest things. You need to condition yourself, just like for a fight. You can't eat certain things when you're training for a fight. When you're, because it's going to show in the ring at the end of the day. It's going to show you. You'll get beat. The training is harder than the actual fight, which is all the discipline we do with the savings. The buying bit is easy. The managing bit is easy. We've always got money in the account. It all goes on behind the scenes, and it's something that not everyone's going to see, and no one's going to give you a pat on the back. You're on this journey alone. It might be your partner supporting you, or maybe a couple of, even I would just stick to parents, siblings, and other people are not going to support you. People won't be happy for you. People don't see your vision. Only you can see your own vision. So you've got to stay and keep them emotions strong and say, look, what do I want out of this? Write them down on a piece of paper, see your focus, write the steps to get there, and just keep grinding every single day.
Yeah, mate, I absolutely love that. And do you know what? I guess off the back of that a little bit, and we were talking about this a little bit off air beforehand, the last kind of thing I wanted to talk to you about is you've fairly recently, given how long, you know, you're 36 years old, you bought your first property at 21, you've been in the game a lot longer than a lot of the people I speak to. Yet in terms of your online presence, your influencer, celebrity type status that you're starting to accrue now, it's a fairly recent thing. And you get so many people that portray themselves as experts without having anything to back it up. Whereas you've done it the other way around. Was that, boy, it sounds like it, when we were talking, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily by design, but are you glad you did it that way around? Or do you think that starting earlier with the kind of the promoting your or giving the value online could have potentially helped you doing it sooner? What way around would you kind of recommend?
So the proof in the pudding is in the eating. You've got to show what you've done to teach somebody else. You can't tell somebody how to manage kids if they don't have kids themselves. Yeah, because you don't know how much they cry, they whine, they push you around, feelings and emotions get involved. You can't say just pick him up, put him there, and it doesn't matter how much you got. You don't know what it feels like to be maternal or a parent. The same thing. If you haven't done it, how can you tell somebody else to do it? You can't read one book and say, I've understood what this book is saying, because reading a book and doing something practically are two totally different things. I've met some nerds. I've met people who dot the I's, crosses the T's. I can't speak English properly. You see, my writing is shocking. You know, I'm not the most educated person, but give me a hammer and a nail. I'll show you how to screw that in and get on with things and move on. You know, and if we hit a problem, is how do you deal with your problems? Do you deal with it calmly, a fresh, calm mind, and how to move forward? To be a mentor shouldn't be held lightly. This is somebody who's going to teach you how to do a trade professionally, properly, and honestly. Shouldn't be taken lighthearted, or people call themselves life coaches. What have you done in your life to coach me about my life? Like, you know, it isn't something that's very light. You've got to have substance to it. And I've had many earned jobs, and there hasn't been a single job where I haven't impressed my manager or been promoted in record time. You know, the highest role you can get into a banking role in retail is a B5. Purely because I wasn't the highest graduating person. I went in as a cashier. It took me 8 months to get a personal banker, 12 months to get headhunted to be one of the elite people in West End, look after all the millionaire portfolios as a B5 role manager. You know, and to look after millionaires, you've got to have really good training, really good communication skills. All I wanted was the money behind it. But how did I get the money behind it? By helping people. And how do you get longevity to stay them many years in a certain job? Is by doing things right. Because if you don't do things right, it will catch up and bite you back. It can spoil your reputation. It can get you blacklisted even. So you've got to do things properly. And then once you do that properly, what's the next stage? How are we looking ahead? Why am I doing this job? Why am I giving my life to this job? Why am I doing this many hours and working so bloody hard and getting myself trained to this level? Because I want to achieve something by the end of it. There is no achievement if you earn 100,000 and you spend 100,000. There's no achievement. You've gained nothing, yeah, because you've got nothing to show for it. And this is why you see a lot of like footballers and people of star, they come into money very quickly, they spend it, blow it, and later on you hear they've been bankrupt or they haven't achieved nothing for it. You've got to be smart. So you've got to see people who's got that mindset, who's able to sort of do that. Being an influencer wasn't my sort of main goal. I wasn't a very confident person. I was bullied in school. It was a lot of, it was compared to prison. The Ofsted even shut it down. I was one of them kids who wasn't supposed to make it. So, you know, being called fat boy and you're overweight and you shut up and you're the little one in the crowd, it wasn't something that I was outspoken. But in my head, I really knew I had a voice. I knew I was a somebody and I knew I wanted to accomplish something. But I knew I had to show something for it. I needed to show the world. So studied hard, worked hard, saved hard, got passive income. And as I grew, it came less about the money. When you start getting into money, your circle becomes a lot smaller. You get some of the things you want, And then it comes to a point where that pound note doesn't make a difference to your life anymore. You earn another £1,000. Yeah, I brokered another good deal. Oh, we've literally my last deal in August was, yeah, I'll add them to places. Great, cool. One signature with my solicitor, keys here. I didn't even go and collect the keys because that agent goes, we're going to swap it over and it's all done and here's your new contract. Through an email, he signed it and that's all it was. Where's the fun in it gone? Where's the, right, bought this place, what we're going to do first? Are we going to strip it down? Are we going to take all the wallpaper off? Are we knocking this partition down? Oh shit, there's a pipe there. Like, how do we do it? Get the builder. I want to design it like this, but I need it on a budget. Are we going Wix today? Are we going to go Dulux today? Like, no, we can't afford that paint. Okay, what's the cheapest way? Tell me 3 ways I can do this floor. And we're going to vinyl it. Like, that's an easy fix. Are we going to tiles? Is a longer term. It's not that anymore. So the fun out of it is gone. And when you trade time for money, it's not worth my time to go into little projects anymore, because the time it takes me, as we say, like if I earn passively 25,000, but I'm going to do a project that's going to get me 30 grand, it's not really motivating me anymore. I'm like, I could sit back and next 3 months I'll earn 90 grand. Like I bought my next ticket, I can broker it. It just doesn't work anymore like that. So you think, so what's motivating me now? And through my journey, I've gone through a corner shop learning VAT markup. I've gone to a cash and carry learning multiple streams of income by doing my job and helping people load their cars and getting double income, if not more. I've gone into McDonald's, became nearly fired on my first day, to crew member, to training squad, to a floor manager, to a shift manager, and kept that up to the age of 30. I went into banking. I was a cashier, coordinator, personal banker, premier manager, Rising Stars Academies, doing presentation in front of all the managers in West End, won many awards, being #1 in West End, conquered a lot of things. I was a builder. I was on doing foundations, to then plastering, to helping all my builders, doing bigger and bigger jobs to work with a designer, Anna Valles, who done one of the cathedrals in France, and we done zinc coping top and built stuff out of plywood, birch plywood, sprayed 3% white paint, and bifolding doors, using cranes to crane it over a house because you can't get it through. Like, it just got deeper and deeper until I've sort of conquered it. Life is not just about one job anymore. It's just one thing you're good at. You're good at so many things, and it's not about if you're getting bored, but once you get to the top of your mountain, I don't want to stay around no more. I've learned it. I know what it consists of. I can broker somebody else to do it very cleverly because I know how to start, middle, finish. I can project manage this. Now my newest thing is a social media influencer, and on my journey, I've met so many people who I've mentored without knowing I'm mentoring them. All I'm doing is sharing information and helping them. A couple of them have got millionaire status. They've got 4 houses, over 250 each, and they've got businesses turning over 30,000. And I've just been happy to be part of the journey and helping them use some of my tools, etc. Whether they say thank you today or not, or if they remember that or not, that's a different story, Sam. But I've mentored a lot of people. I've mentored even some tenants who I've bumped into the gym, and they're like, hey, Sean, would you like to hang out sometime? And I'm like, I don't really mix business and pleasure, but spending 8 months with people like that, all of a sudden from 4 years not saving a penny, they've now got £12,000 and able to go back to their country and buy a house. And I'm like, wow, how'd you do that? And they were like, you remember that train journey? And you just showed me that budget planner and savings. Like, I just followed that, man. Honestly, it was nothing more than that. And I was like, okay. And then it's them people inspiring me and saying, why are you not giving yourself to the world? Why are you not helping other people? You're a very relatable person. You've come from the bottom. You're not overshooting it. You're not making things up. You're not, you understand people. You understand where they've come from. You understand what they're doing, where they're going, and you understand money. Why are you not helping more people? Because that's what you should be doing now, not just trying to get more rich. So I was like, okay, what do people, because I know people in my position are in their late 40s, in their 50s, but a lot of them close the curtains and see you later. You don't see them anymore. I'm like, I'll open the curtains. I'm still young enough to be relatable. I'm not this fat old man. I'll probably show you how to compete this year. I'm thinking of another bodybuilding competition because it's all about mindset, motivation. A lot of people, compete on stage and they know how to train, but they're not good with money. And the people who are good with money, you don't want to listen to them because you can't relate to them because they look like a certain way. How about competing there, putting the next two things together and just showing people, if I'm your average normal Joe who can do it, why can't I put that belief in you that you can do it? You can. and the new year's coming, and I haven't done much in terms of trying to sell anything to anybody. I've just been documenting my journey and just letting people know who Sean Land is. But next year is going to be more around, right, if you want to come on my journey, let's help you and let's get these testimonies going. Come onto my website and I'll show you what I can do for you, because I'll take my time with this. I'll take my time. I don't need to come on the scene and sell you something straight away. See who I am, what I am, and by popular demand, my DMs are always full. Sean, I need your help. Sean, can you teach me this? I said, I don't offer this, but you know what? Next year I will be, and hopefully we can get an army and rooms full up in West End, and we can have guest speakers like yourself come up and go, okay, this is my next mountain. And it's only been 12, not even 12 months in this game, but this is when people are going to actually see who you are, what you are, and how you can land the test of time. This is where I actually show people who Sean Land is and show you how I did the properties and all these jobs, how I got to the top. You're actually going to see it because I'm on camera now, and you're going to say, well, where was he 12 months ago? Where was he 6 months ago? Where is he today? And then in the future, you'll be like, I saw where this guy started from. How's he done that? And I know in my head where I'm going, and I know how I'm going to do it. And it's just by being me and being authentic and being actually there to help people. And if I don't do it, it's not even crossing my mind, because I know I am going to do it, because I don't define it by 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. I'm halfway through my life. Average man lives to 70. There's not a bridge that I haven't been able to cross. The only thing between me and that is time. And the only thing I'm trying to do is cut that time as fast as possible in the best way possible. So we're going on that journey. And if anybody can take that away from this podcast, is believe in yourself. Believe you can do everything. There's only one of you. There's not another one of you. You're unique. Don't be a copy. Don't try and be anybody else or imitate anybody else. Be yourself. Be authentic. And anything you want and motivates you and inspires you, I promise you, you'll be able to do it if you really want it. Because that's the only person that's stopping you is you.
Yeah, mate, that's inspirational words, and you're absolutely right, because I started following you on TikTok. Well, wasn't even that long ago. What, 9 months ago? Finally got to meet a couple of months ago, didn't we? And
brilliant.
And that, it definitely strikes me as you're very, very authentic. You're knowledgeable, and your whole purpose of recording your thoughts and your advice is just to give value to other people. There clearly isn't an ulterior motive, as you can sometimes see with some of the others that are online doing a similar thing, just not as authentic as I think you are. But Sean, obviously everyone's going to be wanting to now go and see all of these videos. I know that those that are watching this on YouTube will see that your Instagram scrolling along the screen at SeanLand_1. But let us know your TikTok as well, because obviously a lot of the stuff you do is over on that channel, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends whatever language you're speaking on, guys. It's going to be SeanLand_1 on TikTok also. So I've made it very simple for you guys. My website's just coming out, so it might be live by the time you're watching this. It's www.seanland.co.uk, where you'll be able to see all of the services, and then all the podcast links. The channel on YouTube is Sean Land, SEAN space Land, LAND. And there you can see some podcasts. And we've had Samuel Leeds, Property by Kazi, Emmanuel Secure, Jason Patterson. Hopefully you'll see Sam there soon as well. And that's where we like to have long form conversations. We also like to have a similar conversation in terms of your journey, what works for you, and some of your best deals. So that's what we like. So there's a lot of value that we try to give everybody. All of this available, and all the social media links currently is all free. So that's what I say first of all, is follow the people where you want to get to, and gain as much free knowledge before you actually go any deeper to say you're going to pay for anything, because you want the most value and you want to be following. There's no one right answer. People are going to take something away from you, Sam, and like stuff about you. They might like a little bit something from me and a few other influencers. Follow a few people and find your own. But,
yeah, completely. Look, Sean, today's been awesome. I'm really hopeful that that everyone that's listened to this has got something out of it. Thanks very much, everyone, for sticking around to the end. And please go and follow Sean on whatever platform you prefer, and hit him up and ask him any questions that you've got, because I know that he's very interactive with his followers. But Sean, thanks for being a guest on the Game Alone's podcast, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you for having me, Sam. Brilliant.